Yo.
Hello there.
What up? My freaking mic cord just stopped working.
Oh, we gotta love that.
I know. Gotta go buy a new one. So I'm using the headphones for this.
So I think we can get it going. How we doing, Rob? How we doing?
Do you know what one of these cords is called? One of these ones. I'll show you in
I'll
Slack.
say you
Yeah.
gotta send me a picture. So I try to squint, but it's a lot of help.
Yeah. Sounds good. Oh, got some DMs. Jeez.
Awesome. Yeah. I was shouting it out on the TikTok Live a decent bit as of recent, trying to make it a more
Oh
no,
yeah.
like we do this.
I got some DMs here to get through
Perfect.
pertaining to that.
Awesome. So we'll get those added on as we go here, but we'll kind of get it, just hang out for a little bit, kind of vibe, and then if there's a few more teams that get it on as we go, awesome. I'll wait until 3:20 to get it started here. Gotta run to the bathroom real quick, and then I will be right back. But yeah, this is the beautiful Jamario Moon, everyone. In case you aren't familiar.
Hello guys, I don't have the YouTube chat open right now because I am adding teams to this, but I'll be on there in a second.
You got Grant and Jackson to help you here. I will be right back. Can I get a little bit more food in my stomach? Use the bathroom, and we'll get it rolling here. Sounds like we got a good bit of teams coming through. How we living? Grant, walk us through your thoughts on the Raiders, so chat is aware.
Defense good. Team likely ass.
Yeah, I think that's about right. Dolphins, definitely
Also ass.
Yeah. Okay, this is Uncle Drew. Uncle Drew, if you're watching this right now, I need you to follow the instructions in your Discord DMs. Okay. Hey, young Grant.
Pretty good. I've been trying to request a phone number from a site, trying to get support for the last hour, and the only thing they direct me to is a robot that just repeats the same shit over and over again.
What site?
So that's been fun. Through Microsoft, but every direction you go on there, they just send you to a different chat bot who has no way of connecting you to a human. The game's gone.
Man, I'm sorry to hear that. I was dealing with some shit like that with Xfinity not too long ago.
It's ridiculous.
Can't get on the phone with a real person these days.
All right. I think we can get into it now. Flatten up those wires. Your team is the Dirt. Dear boy on Discord, if you want to help me get my team right for this week. Right on. Jackson will do his best.
Yep, shoot me a DM, otherwise I won't be able to get to it.
All right. So we'll go here. All right, let's check the settings real quick. We want to do that. We want to do this. Why is this? Let's pull this up a little. There we go. All right. So it's an 8-man PPR. Right closer to my face as well. So we have Dak, Saquon, Josh Jacobs. Well, let's actually check this for the mic real quick. We are sure. Perfect. Dak, Saquon, Josh Jacobs. Etienne. I like it. I think it's a strong squad, but since you're in an 8-man, I think you can like 2 for 1 to make it even better, realistically. Like Etienne is great, but I think his work show is going to start getting eaten too by Bayshell Tootin. So I don't mind like pairing him with. You could technically say like Tyreek Hill, but I don't really know how the market's truly valuing him at this point to like try to tier up to another like consistent running back. I like Breece Hall. Juwan Johnson's undervalued by the market. I like Devontae Adams. You could even make an argument to try to get another high tier receiver to kind of boost your receiving core. But ultimately, like it's an 8-man league. It's kind of hard to theoretically go wrong. You could probably make a move against whoever had Joe Burrow or maybe even the Jaden Daniels drafter, considering you have 2 quarterbacks here. But yeah. All right. Ripon City. Someone offered you Kraft for Waddle, and your tight end looks like your weakest weakest position. Okay.
Go Blazers. Is that Ripon City? Rip City, baby.
Baker Mayfield, Puka, George Pickens, Derrick Henry, James Cook, David Njoku, Chuba Hubbard, DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. You definitely have the ability to do it. I think George Kittle could definitely be an upgrade. Currently the tight end 1. What do you guys think? I think Grant's a little busy, but what do you think?
Yeah, I was just entering in teams as well. Let me see this. What was the statement you just made on it?
So it's Waddle for Kraft is essentially what he's asking here, because he doesn't feel comfortable with David Njoku, who's his like true tight end 1.
I would probably take a look at waivers first, but I mean, let me see this wide receiver depth. Pittman, Pickens, Puka, Waddle, Worthy. I don't know if I would do it, honestly.
I think you're realistically fine. Like, if you want to go after Kraft, that's fine. It's just like the thing that I have concern with the Green Bay Packers is not so much that like I don't believe in the talent that's Kraft. I just believe that they could be in a lot of game scripts that aren't going to be very pass intensive, like they are going to need to be for him to really kind of maintain that level of value. But I do like him overall. You have thoughts, Toothless? All right. On to the next one here. Uneasy XMH 12-man PPR. We have Prescott, RJ Harvey, Kenneth Walker, Devontae Adams, CeeDee Lamb, Brock Bowers, Ricky Pearsall. So your running back room is hurting. I won't lie to you. So it's going to be a better running back room as time progresses, but right now we can't really start RJ confidently. Tootin isn't going to be able to be that efficient each week, unfortunately, at least for the short term. So we probably will need to make some adjustments for this roster. Trying to think how I would do that. You could try to sell high on Kenneth Walker in theory. Trying to think here.
You could also sell high on Fannin. I mean, I saw, like, just as a trade piece, I saw one person on Discord get Drake London for Fannin and DJ Moore, just as an example of, like, type of moves you can make like that.
Yeah. But ultimately, like, the running back room is going to get better. It's just going to be something that's going to take a little bit of time. I think you can go field offers on, like, Ashton Jeanty and, like, Marion Hampton and see if, like, those guys will buy, because I think there's a chance that they will. I don't know. I like the team overall, though. I just think it's going to be facing a little bit of issues in the short term just because, like, Harvey and Tootin aren't really there for a production standpoint yet. Caleb Johnson, I have zero faith in. Matthew Golden is going to be getting better, so I'm very excited about that. But, yeah, I don't know. I would try to 2-for-1 to try to get up to a more high-quality, like, consistent running back if I could. The pieces I would be looking at are, like, Pearsall, Fannin, and probably Keenan Allen, considering how consistent he's been for the first few weeks here. Keenan Allen, I feel like he's a good piece for fantasy, but at the same time, like, you can probably trade him because people are really attached to his name value. All right, Cappy. Mahomes, Etienne, Jeanty, Adams, Mike Evans, and Njoku, Judy. So we're chasing the passing volume in Cleveland here. And then we got Broncos defense, Fairbairn, Jameson Williams, Shaheed, Jordan Mason. That's someone who's definitely going to be ascending there. So I really like him a lot. Really strong team here. Not going to lie to you. I think it's a very strong team. I can definitely understand your concern with Njoku, but ultimately, like, he's still got a ridiculous route share, so I'm not too concerned with him. You really don't need Jared Goff on this team, so you can utilize that as, like, another spot to be chasing upside. Texans defense is fine considering the level of talent that you have, but, like, if you're ever going to be rostering two defenses, my kind of logic with it is this. You should be playing for the next week's defense with whoever you have on the bench. So it's like, if you're looking at defenses this week, it's like, I want to have next week's defense already on my waivers that I'm liking. So that way, like, I'm just constantly ready for the next rotation of what's to come. So I'm constantly getting ahead of my opponents. And it's like, theoretically 2 to 3 points, but you never know how that adds up over a week. What does that turn out? If you were to equate that to 17 weeks, 51 fantasy points, that's helpful. But aside from that, I like the squad. I do think better days are ahead for Njoku, but I can understand the overall concern there. Justice Hill, I don't really see the upside he's going to provide you. I think I understand Keaton Mitchell's been active for the first few games here, but he's the kind of one-to-one replacement for Derrick Henry in terms of, like, designed usage for how they utilize him. So that's why he's currently not on the active roster, but he probably will be active this weekend considering Rasheen Ali with the injury. Aside from that, though, I like Jameson Williams. Just a lot of spike week upside. Maybe you could try to sell high on him because I do think people are willing to ride that high a little bit because it is JMO. He's a very fun name value. But ultimately, this is kind of a ride it till you can team for right now. Ultimately, it's fine. I just don't think you need Goff. I don't think you need Hill. And ultimately, you really don't need Rashid Shaheed, but that's just my 2 cents. If anything, I would try to do like a 2-for-1 of like Shaheed and JMO or something and see if you can tier up to a higher tier. Try to get Omarion Hampton. Add him onto this team. It seems like those drafters are currently shaking in their boots. Ran into one today, and he was shaking. All right. Dear Day, start set advice and maybe a little QB talk. You've claimed Daniel Jones and dropping Purdy, but you're 10th in waiver odds, so you doubt you'll get him. Who else looks good for this week that's available? All right, let's walk through it together then. So Trevor Lawrence, I mean, I'm honestly fine starting T-Law, to be honest with you. Like, it really is fine. Chase Brown, Bijan Robinson, Nico Collins, Jacoby Myers, Tyler Warren. We got a sharp man in here. Tyrone Tracy, Kayshon Boutte, Josh Downs, Harold Fanning, Quentin Johnston, Terry McLaurin, Brockathan Purdy. Yeah, I mean, you really don't need 2 quarterbacks for what it's worth. I do like Daniel Jones just because the mobile upside he presents. I want to say Caleb has been rushing a good bit for fantasy as well, so he is very relevant for fantasy, so I don't mind him either. If you don't like T-Law, I think we can say that Caleb's probably going to be decent for fantasy, at least from what he's produced so far. Aside from that, though, I really like your squad. I think it's very solid. I think Josh Downs is going to be one of my must-starts for this week, considering the underlying data that we got from last weekend and the fact that, like, I don't think he's going to be getting the respect he deserves, so he is going to be a buy low candidate for me. But aside from that, what else could you really do here? I would be starting Josh Downs over Tyrone Tracy, and realistically, you should be starting Terry McLaurin over Tyrone Tracy as well. But I think with how you've built this team, you can realistically take steps further to get like a higher caliber wide receiver or a higher caliber flex spot. And what I mean by that is like the people who drafted Janty and Omarion Hampton are the guys that are just like really scared right now. And they shouldn't be. We're 2 weeks into the season, way too small of a sample size. If I were to approach you 2 weeks ago, we hop in a time machine together. You're probably going to sit there and smack me in the face if I were to make the offer of like, I don't know, who's a good candidate that you could say.
Omarion Hampton for Breece Hall, or I don't know.
Yeah, like you could definitely see people would be very upset about that. Who would take out to put Josh Downs in this week? Yeah, Tyrone Tracy. I just think
Are you out on Ridley?
Ridley's fine too. Either one's fine.
I would go Ridley personally, but I think any of those are good options. Tracy's just not going to be super reliable, and the Chiefs' run D's been really good. So
I like it. All right. On to the next one here. We have Rocky's Revenge. All right. I wonder what we need revenge for. Did we lose in the championship? I'm curious. Team 1-1, PPR league with 1.5 tight end premium. Okay, so we're a tight end premium here. You had Jordan Mason, but traded him for Love after the Purdy injury. Okay. For what it's worth, you never need to do that. Like, you should never really be trading for a quarterback because they're never going to attach that level of value.
Especially when you can start Mac Jones or something like off waivers for a couple weeks.
Yeah, it is the most replaceable position, and it's like one of the ugliest things you can say in the fantasy community, just because it's like you're knocking the true talent that these players have. But when we're just playing a game that is based off points, we kind of got to remove the name value. But with that said, it is what it is. I'd prefer to have like. I'm not sure where David Montgomery's future value is going here, but I think he's a fine guy to give us points till we get Tootin and Harvey to kind of sit in there. Aside from that, I like the Harold Fannin play. Rome Odunze, talk about a breakout. My gosh. Cortland Sutton, I think he'll have better days ahead of him, but I did just do a video on kind of the intrigue that we're seeing from Sean Payton's scheme design there. Worthy, obviously, you're not going to be starting him in the short term, so I think El Imanor is a more than fine fill-in. He and Calvin Ridley are basically 1-to-1 right now.
Buy some Troy Franklin stonks.
Troy Franklin stonks are definitely on the up and up right now. Very excited to see what we get there. But yeah, I think this team is fine. I just wouldn't want to be relying on David Montgomery. I like the Tootin and Harvey upside swings. I think those are going to pay off. I think Monungai is going to get some more run. Whether it's quality is an entirely different conversation. Colson Loveland, maybe he can turn into Sam Laporta. But the thing that I do want to point out the Sam Laporta bet in reference to Colson Loveland is it's like the bet isn't the same anymore. Like the bet with Sam Laporta was that like he would take off the ground running, and that's part of why he was so great. Unfortunately, that does not seem to be the case with Colson Loveland, but I like chasing the talent because should get better as the season progresses here.
This has to be a really deep league, I would assume, too. So I feel like your team's pretty good considering that. Dylan Sampson took a bit of a hit this week, but On the converse, you got Tootin, who looks to be having a more real role, and I wouldn't be surprised if he has like a super fantasy relevant role in that offense as the season progresses. It seems like they already trust him a fair amount.
Yeah. All right, so you're 1-1. I mean, overall, I think this team has better days ahead of it. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like what I could offer you as like advice in terms of like flipping. I don't want to like you don't have any players to really flip right now.
Yeah, you're kind of in some spots where you kind of just got to ride it out. McConkey, I feel like you're not going to get the value that you deserve from that one right now. Rome is probably your best like sell high guy, but I think he's just going to be good the rest of the year. So I would probably just hold on to that. I think he can easily be a wide receiver 2 for the remainder of the season almost. So
yeah. But like, no, you're probably going to be able to start like Marcus Mariota this weekend if you really needed to, or like Carson Wentz. Like, you're going to be able to find QBs off the waivers that are just going to be ugly plays, but like they'll get you points. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, clicked the wrong button. Let's see here. I don't think that was the right one. No, I definitely have the right one. Let's see here. There's details again. I'm all over the place. This was wrong. Okay, now we're on to the next one. Ajar, 12-man full PPR. You're 2-0, but you haven't scored over 110 yet. Dropping Kyle Williams for either Jordan Love, Troy Franklin, or Kyle Monangai. Just wondering if you need to make any moves or just to hold on since most of my team is rookies. All right. I think you just need to hold on. Ideally, like, we're not having to start Tootin yet. That's not there. Same thing with Harvey, but like they're basically going to project the same. Like, I haven't seen what the projections are going to be just yet for this week, but I imagine they're going to project identically to one another. Cedric Tillman's fun.
Sleeper this week is around 7.5 projection, I believe, which I assume is around Harvey's spot. Just a lot of rookies. I think of those guys, I would probably take a shot on Troy Franklin.
Yeah, I would take the shot on Troy Franklin as
well.
You
don't need another rookie running back involved there. Bill will have better weeks too. Like, in theory, he should be a guy, especially now after the Eckler injury, that you can throw into your lineup almost every week. So I would be starting him probably this week over Tootin for now. But you have a lot of guys that have the potential to age really well as the season goes on, and you could end up with like 2 or 3 league winners towards the end that you're a little bit spoiled for choice. So hopefully that's the outlook you got to rock with. I think your starting lineup's good enough as well now that you can afford to wait a tad, especially since you're 2-0. So I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, 2-0, you can realistically like afford 2 losses as well, because like every single week that goes forward is another step towards your bet hitting. In theory, like that is kind of the positive part about like all these rookies and their upside that they present. All right, Abe needs some help with tight end and wide receiver for the flex. Jalen Hurts, Bucky Irving, Jonathan Taylor, Tet, Malik Neighbors. This feels like a very thin league. I see the need for a better tight end. Trying to think, who should we be buying low on? I mean, your team's pretty stacked. Like, to be completely transparent, it's just like the tight end is where you do need the most help. Who would you guys be targeting?
I mean, obviously it depends on who's on waivers there. I think everybody probably scooped up Fannin or Juwan after week 1, I would assume.
Juwan might still be there in like shallow leagues.
If you can get Juwan Johnson, that would be ideal because he's going to be a beast. I wouldn't even mind trading Cooper Kupp after a big week for him for Juwan Johnson, just because I don't expect that to repeat for Cooper Kupp. Whereas Juwan Johnson, I really do. I think that's got to be the guy you add to this team. He's not the like prettiest play in the world, but he's got some really fun advanced analytics behind him and some good money too. All right.
Agreed.
Anything to add on this one, or are we on to the next one?
Keep it moving.
All right. Marco the Legend, 12-man PPR. Joe Burrow, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bucky Irving, Cortland Sutton, Jalen Waddle, Trey McBride, Juwan Jennings. Now, talk about someone that sneakily broke out this weekend. Like, he was the guy. Made my Ricky Pearsall call look like a fool. Demario Douglas, Josh Downs. Demario Douglas is cuttable for what it's worth. Ollie Gordon, Drake May, Brian Robinson, Rashad White, who unfortunately stole the goal line touchdown from Bucky Irving. Classic. But aside from that, I like the team here. The only down part is that you don't have Joe Burrow for realistically the rest of the regular fantasy season. So you have Drake May. That's going to play out perfectly there. Yeah, I mean, if anything, you could try to tier up your receivers. But I think it's fine. Like once you have Josh Downs theoretically cooking, you could try to tier up there, but like Josh Downs is a very fun and talented player. Curious your guys' thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I'd pretty much just echo what you said.
The receivers need some help, I think, but your running back core is strong, and obviously need to address the QB position for the future here. But Drake May should be able to do a job there for long enough. Liked what you saw out of Rashad White too. That could be a potential flex as the season goes on. You probably need some more time to fully see that, but getting Ayuk back in a few weeks will be big, and obviously you're waiting out the Addison suspension. So yeah, you're kind of boomer bust in the receiver category for now, but I think you have enough elsewhere that you're able to stay afloat, hopefully.
Like it. All right. On to the next one here. Football blood. The trade can be moved around. You've been offered multiple people for Neighbors. Okay. Lamar Jackson, RJ Harvey, Bayshall, Tootin, Drake, London, Malik Neighbors, Kyle Pitts, Marvin Harrison. So we went full zero running back. Okay. Unfortunately, RJ Harvey and Tootin are just not going to be able to bring us enough early season production. So we do need some kind of uglier plays. Tet, Henderson, and Odunze for Neighbors and what side? I honestly feel like I wouldn't be opposed to this, but like I feel like you can do better considering Neighbors went in the first. And like,
who are the players in the top three? It's hard to see.
So it's T-Mac, Henderson, and Odunze for Neighbors and Marv. What do you say?
I mean, I think that probably helps your team because you're starting Tootin at running back right now. So it would give you Travion to slot into there as a starting running back. And then you're kind of just tearing down off Marv and Neighbors for T-Mac and Odunze. I mean,
it's going to take too long for the future bets is kind of
agreed. I think it depends on what your record is. If you're in chat, I think that would be big. If you're like 2-0, you can kind of afford to take a risk like that probably. But if you're 0-2 or something, I think that's going to take too long to come into fruition, and you might not want to take that risk right now.
I don't think this team's 2-0.
So if anything,
Lamar and then Neighbors.
What I would consider here is taking Marv, for example, right?
0-2.
And flipping him for trying to think of like a good thing here. Like you could also go after Omarion Hampton, or you could flip him for Ramondre Plus. We want ugly points now. We need ugly points to like actually bring these elite assets to come along a little bit later. Because our receiving production here, it's elite. We have Lennon, we have Neighbors. That's a ridiculous amount of targets. I don't mind chasing after Henderson, McMillan, and Odunze, because McMillan and Odunze, those are players that will continue to help our team and really like point per replacement. Neighbors and McMillan aren't going to be that much different. Just people don't want to talk about it. But that's neither here nor there. So with that being said, like Kyle Pitts, he's fine-ish. That's not ideal. I think moving off of like Chris Olave with like Marv, like you need to tier down to get some more consistent running back points. These will hit eventually, but for right now, they're not going to help you win. We need to get you past 0-2 to closer to like a 2-2, so we're swinging a little bit more because these guys will shine, but like we don't want to be playing best ball in redraft. It's just not the most ideal way to play it. But I would be tearing off of Marv and Olave specifically, in which case you can get better. I think you could even find a good offer for Malik Neighbors for like an active starting running back. Like, I'm trying to think, do you think you could flip Malik Neighbors for who's someone in the first round that people hate right now?
That has first round,
like Ashton Janty plus.
Yeah.
It would have to be a decent smart plus, I think. I mean, I'm not giving up on Genty this year, but I think Neighbors is.
I think people will give you Ashton Janty plus.
Dude, someone out there is giving up on Janty right now.
Yeah. So, like, I think you should be trying to poke the Ashton Janty manager is what I'd do here. And I'd also offer the Omarion Hampton draft for Marv just straight up and see if he goes for that. Hell, maybe even offer plus because it's like, look, the pirate came to steal his booty. I don't know what to tell you. Like, Najee Harris is cooking out there. He's not the one that fumbled it. You can gaslight him a little. I don't know.
That was credited to Justin Herbert.
That it was. But
my sweet prince is still alive.
He's still alive. But with that said, like what we're trying to mainly get here is not bash your football team. we want to help you get more consistent wins and more consistent production. I think that's really the best way to do it. And the way we want to be doing that is trying to find these other players that we're going in the first round of fantasy drafts and trading them and getting more value out of that. Because the reality is that doesn't change. Blake Neighbors might have just had his highest position game of fantasy season, and people don't know it yet.
That is true.
So we move on to the next. Slat Gang 820. Hell of a name. Going to try and pick up Daniel Jones for QB, not this team. Some trades last week. 12-team PPR, thinking of trading Connor and Tyreek. I like it. I like moving off of Connor just because, like, it's really weird how much Trey Benson is actually getting utilized. It seems like the players were telling the truth and the coach was a bit hiding his hand. So I don't
have Trey Benson, so that's important.
Yeah, becomes there. Jordan Mason, his value is definitely on the rise right now. Very exciting there. Drake London, Puka Nacua just makes me want to become like Randy Moss all over, or Steve, whatever his name is from South Park, all over his screens. Tyreek Hill, I just think his time has come, but like I am very curious to see if he gets traded, what that would do for his fantasy value, and I think that would probably be a more optimal time to trade him away. Because if he
I don't think you're selling it at about the valley of his value. I think you're probably more likely to wait a bit and see if he gets traded, or just see if things change in the offense. Because right now, I think people are going to be pretty scared to be involved in a trade involving Tyreek Hill, and you're probably not going to get fair value.
Yeah.
So I would listen to Wells there.
I would consider this. Maybe take Ridley and James Conner and field a pitch for Ashton Jeanty. And then, like, if that doesn't work, throw a pitch for James Conner for Marion Hampton straight up. See if they go for it. You never know. I've seen crazier things happen. Apparently, someone made this deal the other day where they traded Jamar Chase for Drake London and Rashee Rice. And I was like, I'd prefer to be on the Drake London side with Rashee Rice, but that is just me. But overall, really solid squad here, man. I think you're making the right moves, and hopefully we'll be leaning towards a fantasy football championship. All right, Mike, need a waiver QB. You have Daniel Jones, Geno Smith, Caleb Williams, Jake Browning, Matthew Stafford, Sam Darnold available. Who off your bench should you drop for a quarterback? Should you sit Henderson for Jordan Mason? Yes, I would be starting Jordan Mason for one. Should you flex Odunze over Sutton this week? Honestly,
I think
I'm kind of for it. Like, it seems like the breakout's really here. Like, we should just be fully buying into it. Yeah, I'm kind of for it. It just seems like Odunze is that guy. That elite athleticism from the combine is truly showing here. But you said you need a waiver wire quarterback. I mean, I'm fine rocking with Dak, man. He's going to be cooking in a lot of these game scripts just because of how poor that defense is, especially if Deron Bland misses any more time. Like, they're going to be an open season out there. I don't know. I like the squad. In theory, you could try to like get Juwan Johnson for a cheap cost, but like you're probably not gonna be able to do that. I think Hunter Henry will have better days ahead of him. But overall, I like the squad. There's not really much I would change to it, to be honest. Like I really like it.
Yeah, it's a really good team.
Should you flip Love for Pacheco? What do you guys say there?
Yeah, sure. I mean, feel comfortable at quarterback, I don't mind doing it.
I don't think you need to, Noah, to be honest, just because of like how your room is. It's just like, it's such a weird thing with Pacheco. I have no idea if better days are ahead for him or not. I just don't like Kareem Hunt getting all those touches. But we'll go to the next team here. LC again. We have Jalen Hurts, Jefferson, Jacoby Myers, Janty, Achane, Fannin, DJ Moore, Juwan Jennings, Keenan Allen. Yeah, I mean, this team seems fine to me. You just have some injury variance that hasn't played your way. You have some pretty strong running backs. Something that I would advise as a potential idea to flow out there is that, like, you don't really need trying to, like, I would be floating Devon Achane, because the thing that concerns me is that, like, if Mike McDaniel gets fired, right? What likely happens to that offense? I think Jalen Waddle will be fine, because the majority of coordinators realize you should target your wide receiver one, because the likelihood is Tyreek Hill will not be at that point if this occurs. And what will also happen is that Devon Achane won't get all that fun receiving usage. Like, I would just be very surprised if that were to happen, because it's just like you don't get Mike McDaniel's the one scheming all these touches for Achane, and maybe they keep that the same, but I'd be a bit more hesitant. So I think you can kind of sell high right now prior to this Buffalo game, because being 14-point underdogs, this might be the last game we see Mike McDaniel. I don't know. Maybe Jackson can give us a better insight onto his favorite team here. So,
yeah, I mean, I think Mike McDaniel's might have fallen off the sobriety wagon and is hurling into darkness very rapidly. I think it's only a matter of time. So,
but yeah, that would be the only kind of piece of advice I would have here. So that way you can gear up your kind of flex spots here is what it looks like. Just because, like, I don't know, DJ Moore, he's probably going to be fine. Juwan Jennings, elite. That's another player you can use as like a trade up piece, but like I think that usage is a bit here to stay. Keenan Allen is definitely somebody that I love. I think he's an elite player, an asset, but someone that is very live to realistically just be a good trade piece. Love for Caleb Williams, just got to trade off for love. I prefer to be on the Caleb Williams side. He's going to be a lot more negative game where he's going to have to pass, and on top of that, we see him utilizing his legs like crazy. So I think he's going to be a lot more fantasy than Will. So I think that's a great deal there for you, Noah. XO Duck, hugs and kisses. Started 1-1. You like your team, but would like to upgrade your wide receivers. London because you have Bijan and Higgins because Burrow is hurt. All right, so I've thrown a few trade ideas out there. You can definitely like try to throw Higgins for a few of these like busty running backs that haven't like actually hit their ceiling just yet. But another one that I've thrown out there is like flipping T. Higgins for George Pickens, because the reality of the matter is like this is the exact same bet just at a cheaper cost. And I think that's more than fine because I think Dak Prescott is a more helpful quarterback than Jake Browning, but only time will tell, right? Aside from that, I think you've got a great team. Like, I don't really have anything negative to say about this. Like, this is a very, very strong team. I like the players on your bench. In theory, I would like to upgrade my tight end. I'm curious to see if the Juwan Johnson owner would be interested in flipping Juwan Johnson for Dalton Kincaid. I'd float that. I prefer Juwan Johnson's upside at this point. It seems like a real thing that's going to stick through 2 weeks of usage. Keep in mind, like, short sample. But the reason that I'm sticking to that is because, like, even though, like, Chris Olave has a higher target share, I like to think about where is the coordinator having the player actually look first every single time, right? Because that's what matters. And in the first 2 weeks, it was Chris Olave and Juwan Johnson were tied for first read rate, which I was like, okay, sick. Second week, it actually took a massive split, in which case we went from a 28% first read rate for Chris Olave. It was up to 36% for our guy, Juwan Johnson. So if that's the case and how much money they're paying him, I think we got a guy who's a really good sleeping value for an offense that's going to be playing in a lot of dome environments with a lot of negative game scripts. All right, with that said, we move.
I also don't mind T. Higgins. I think Jake Browning will be fine sustaining some receivers. I mean, it's obviously not as ideal, but I wouldn't panic just yet. I think he has a chance to be fine.
I can concur. All right. On to the next one. Finkyo. That feels, I don't know. I'm sorry if I just added like an Asian context to that. That didn't need to be added, but so be it. 8-man league, but you have no clue what you're doing. Neither do I, but I am here. Baker Mayfield, Bucky Irving, Ashton Jeanty, Garrett Wilson, Terry McLaurin, Tyler Warren, Sedarian Lamb. I mean, extremely strong start. Okay. Keenan Allen, Keon Coleman, Ja'Cory Cross, Kamara, Kyler Murray, Deebo Samuel, Devonta Smith. For what it's worth, we're going to be starting Kyler Murray more often than not in that starting spot just because of the mobile upside that he presents. But that's just kind of my 2 cents. You don't have to agree with that. I'm trying to think. What adjustments could you technically make in an 8-man league?
It's always hard to give advice in an 8-man league because I feel like every team on paper looks insane.
Yeah, and you have the Packers defense, which they made Jaden Daniels look like nothing, which was just insane with this offense. But maybe that's all on Kingsbury. I have no idea. I don't know. This is a sick team, dude. Like, I'm a big fan. I don't really know what else to say. Like, Terry's going to be off to a slow start because of missing training camp, but like his production will rise. I think Marcus Mariota is probably going to focus a little bit more on the run, so maybe we see a little bit more schemed up touch this week. But like, I don't know. I think it's a fun squad.
Probably trade up a bit. I mean, I feel like that's always the advice in 8-man leagues. You could do like JCM and Keenan or something to maybe get another running back or something like that.
I like it. All right. Sank 58, 12-man league, PPR. Running back is weak, but seemed to bounce back. You're still worried about consistency, though. Hawkinson has unfortunately been terrible so far. You'll be 1-1 after this week. That's fine. We're cool. Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, Kenneth Walker, Puka Nacua, Amon St. Brown, T.J. Hawkinson, D.K. Metcalf, sleepy value. Zach Charbonnet, Stephon Diggs, Kareem Hunt, Quentin Johnson, Aaron Jones, Dylan Sampson, and Rashid Shaheed. All right. So what are we cooking with here? So you have both sides of the coin for Charbonnet. I think that is more than fine. J.K. Dobbins, he's cool. I don't mind him. I would be trying to buy the dip on R.J. Harvey while you can. That is a sleeping giant in the making. So I would be trying to get that. Quentin Johnston, for me, is a sell high. I mean, he has just ran pure for the first 2 weeks. And for what it's worth, I think there's more chances for him to continue to have strong fantasy value. But that's just because of how good this receiving core is for Herbert. And like Herbert MVP bets need to be taken because he is 100% on that track this season. Very, very excited to see the future for the Chargers. The only downside is the defensive injuries that they've taken. Aside from that, though, your receiving core elite. Hawkinson, I actually think he's going to be in for a pretty good weekend with Carson Wentz here because this sets up to be kind of a boring, a sleeping banger, in which case it's like people don't want to start the quarterbacks for that game, but it's probably a good game to start those cheap quarterbacks. Aside from that, though, you've heard our kind of spiel on Juwan Johnson and how we like him there. Diggs, I think you can use as a trade piece as well. So I'd be looking at Diggs, Quentin Johnston, and Aaron Jones. I would phrase it in the sense of like when he comes back healthy and everything or whatever. J.K. Dobbins isn't somebody that like I would want to move off of, but I don't mind it. And I know it's an unpopular opinion to do this, but I'm always willing to tear down off of the elite quarterbacks. And the reason that I'm willing to do that is because these elite quarterbacks have a lot more replaceable value when it comes to redraft than most people think. And I don't know, that's just kind of how I look at it. And perhaps that's dumb. I'm not omniscient, that's for damn sure, but that's just kind of where my brain is at. So hopefully you find that helpful, but I'm going to pass this to Grant and Jackson, see if they have any more advice that they want to throw on here.
Yeah, I think your starting lineup is pretty great, especially for a 12-team league. This is one of the stronger teams we've seen. Decent depth. Maybe you just take a shot on waivers with some younger guys, and I think Kareem Hunt is somewhat droppable. Dylan Sampson obviously took a bit of a hit this week, but you obviously like where Kenneth Walker ended up this week. It should lead, hopefully, to some more carries and a bigger share there. Obviously, you have Charbonnet as well. So, unfortunately, an injury would probably benefit you quite a bit in your running back room because if one of those guys is out, the other one is going to have a field day out there. Obviously, Quentin Johnston took some good steps. I don't think you need to make any changes. I think your team's pretty sweet for 12-man, especially that receiver core, obviously.
All right. And to the next one we move, Uncle Drew. All right, Dak Prescott, Josh. What was Kyrie's nickname? Was it Uncle Drew?
It was Uncle Drew, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So maybe this is Kyrie Irving. Watch out. Dak Prescott, Josh Jacobs, James Cook, Terry McLaurin, Garrett Wilson, Sam Laporta, George Pickens, R.J. Harvey, Aaron Jones, Travis Hunter, Kayshon Boutte, and Colson Loveland. I mean, fun squad. We like the upside that we'll hopefully get with Colson Loveland eventually, albeit like we want more consistency from the tight end position, but like I think it's fine. Like it's one of the more replaceable positions, albeit like if you can get like better value, it's always better, right? Receivers, I'm sure, are off to a little bit of a slow start here, which isn't the most ideal, but I think your running backs are running a little bit pure, which is awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's a solid squad. It's just like your flexes are kind of where it's going to be a little bit lacking consistency. I think your team's filled up of guys that people are probably trying to buy low on right now, which means that you've probably got some better upside for your future roster, which is very exciting. Like you've heard a few times, R.J. Harvey's a sleeping giant, according to me. I don't think you should ever have an open bench spot. That's just my 2 cents. I think you did that, though, because you have Joe Burrow on reserve, and you're probably picking up somebody off of waivers. So that would be my bet. So curious to see who you acquired there. I don't really mind dropping Colson Loveland for Juwan Johnson straight up, though, for what it's worth, just because the roles are much different. I think Juwan Johnson is going to win you a lot of early weeks, which is very helpful. But overall, I just think the flexes need to be stronger. I don't really know who I would tear down from here. This is kind of more of a wait-and-see team, is how I'm kind of seeing it. But I'm curious to hear what Grant and Jackson have.
Yeah, again, not a lot of guys you're really selling high on outside of James Cook. Maybe you could get some good value out of Pickens' role in that offense. It seems to be a more significant one than I think we were giving it credit potentially. And then, yeah, with your young guys, I mean, Travis Hunter and R.J. Harvey in particular, you're kind of just going to have to wait it out. Do we know the record of this team? Because if you're able to afford a couple weeks of waiting for it, I wouldn't make too many rash decisions because I think R.J. Harvey could still find his way into a good role in that backfield. And you have 2 running backs with a super high floor, so that's going to keep you afloat in most weeks.
Yeah, I mean, another option, I guess, is to like get off of Laporta right now and work with the tight end on waivers alongside Colston Loveland until maybe that becomes something.
I like it. All right. On to the next one. Baby Pluto. 12-man PPR. Jaden Daniels, Tony Pollard, Kenneth Walker, Drake London, Buka Nakua, Kyle Pitts, Corey Carson, Scary Terry, Mark Andrews, Alec Iman, or Josh Downs, RJ Harvey, Jordan Mason. I like this team. Very well done. You should be starting Jordan Mason over Corey Krosky Merritt for what it's worth. I think that you need a better tight end, realistically. Mark Andrews isn't ideal, but I think a sharp thing to be doing right now is to be going out and getting Isaiah Likely. I think there's a very real chance that he becomes a lot more relevant. Your own for to start the year with this team. We have, let's see, make sure. We have league median rule. Should you make any moves? Okay, so this is your team that we're talking about. Perfect. We're starting Mark Andrews the first 2 weeks, which cooked me. 12-man PPR double flex. Do you start Mason? Yes, you definitely start Mason over Corey Krosky Merritt. I think Kyle Pitts is fine just because it was interesting to see that he had the highest first read rate this past weekend. And I think that was primarily caused because like Drake London's coming off of a shoulder injury, and the fact that Darnell Mooney also is coming off of a shoulder injury. So I think that's why that went that way. But I don't mind him overall in the stacking asset of it. Ideally, I would like Juwan Johnson. That has become my new flag plant. I guess that'll become the brand play. So I don't mind dropping Mark Andrews straight out for him. I think he's a very, very strong play. Overall, I really like the squad. I do think that you're going to need to pick up a quarterback this weekend. Who would we drop? If that's probably an IR spot. In theory, like you might want to prioritize a quarterback over Mark Andrews here, I guess is where I would lean. Realistically, you can kind of drop Kyle Pitts if you want, but that's entirely up to you. Johnson on a waivers pain. All right, then I just rock with Kyle Pitts. I would drop Mark Andrews. I'd pick up a backup quarterback if Daniel Jones is available. Drake May, or I'm not sure who else would be available. Let's swap him with Watson. Yeah, I think you would need to.
Who's the Washington backup quarterback? Mariota still?
Yeah, it's going to be Marcus Mariota. Yeah. I'm just not sure how he's going to do in that scheme. I think the fun one for this week, at least the one that I'm going to be looking at playing a decent bit this week, it'll probably be Carson Wentz. I think getting it going against the Cincinnati secondary is going to be boding pretty well for him. And I think he should be able to – I don't know. We've seen a lot of quarterbacks do pretty well in these schemes. Unfortunately, J.J. McCarthy had a bit of difficulty, but I think you can probably point that to a little bit towards the ankle sprain that he suffered as well. And being with – I don't know. I think watching your child be born the day before, whatever it was, is definitely going to hurt. Caleb Jones. Wild. I like going a bit more towards Jones just because like the pure floor that he gets from rushing, but like Caleb is a more than fine bet as well. What side do you guys lean on that one? I'm actually curious. Caleb or Jones?
I mean, like, it feels like at this point Jones probably has the higher floor, but I mean, I think Caleb will be in a lot of those negative game scripts like we touched on earlier and is going to rack up a good amount of yards. Probably could age well as the season goes on. Who knows what Daniel Jones is like? I mean, we're only 2 weeks in, but that's probably who I would trust more week to week as of now.
I also think just value-wise, I'd probably lean Caleb with like the big week.
Let's go Caleb.
Yeah.
Let's go Caleb. Let's say let's take a chance on the guy who's the first overall pick and supposed to be the next Patrick Mahomes. We'll see if he can bring it back. He's been running a lot too, which is kind of sneaky about him. Fun nails, if you will. All right. Abu starts sit. All right. Justin Herbert, Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors, Bucky Irving, Kenneth Walker, Zach Ertz, Jordan Mason. All right. And let's see what you got on the bench. Yeah. I mean, strong squad. I think you're starting all the correct players. I don't know. I really like the squad. It's very, very strong. In theory, like, I guess you could technically do like Jordan Mason over Kenneth Walker and then like Jacoby Myers, maybe. There, but like I'd have to see what the projections are for this specific week and kind of go from there because at this moment in time I just don't have projections. I want to say we get the data for that or projections come out I want to say on Wednesday afternoon or like Thursday morning. One of the two is when we get like the full 17 games and then I'll publish that for you all. Who can you trade and target for a tight end? I think you can still get Juwan Johnson for cheap, man. But I think you can realistically use Quentin Johnston as a player to use in a trade. I think you can use Jacoby Myers even. I'm curious, actually. Do you think you could pull off Quentin Johnston, Jacoby Myers for Brock Bowers right now? Because people are very concerned about him.
I mean, if you can, I would hop on that immediately. Personally, I wouldn't be trading Brock, but depends on that guy's situation. If he's like 0-2 and looking to make some questionable changes, then I think you could probably find your way into that, which I would do.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like that's an extreme outlier there that I'm calling out immediately, but like that's one I would look at. I think going and getting Juwan Johnson for cheap is pretty strong. Let's see, ironic to consider trade Brock away for Neighbors. Fair enough. I mean, I think that like this is the perfect time to kind of do it because like he really didn't get a lot of usage last night. I think people are concerned about the PCL sprain he's had, but like his route rate was elite, and that's all that really matters. So I think Bowers is ultimately going to be fine.
He should have sat for that game, in my opinion.
I agree, but
just felt like it wasn't worth the risk there.
All right, on to the next one. Pow88. Let's see here. But also, should you hold Chase or try to get a second round wide receiver for him? I mean, if you were to, like, I'm fine holding Chase because I really think he'll be fine. But like, if I can flip him for more or something, like, I am more than cool with that. Because remember what I talked about, like in the projections-based videos, that like players like Drake London realistically are projected for the exact same amount of targets as Ja'Marr Chase. It just all depends upon the quality of those targets that you're really going to get. And think about if you were also to go back and like reprice these players in a draft, right? And you were to get this information that Jake Browning was going to be the quarterback for at least 15 games of the season, you probably are drafting Ja'Marr Chase closer to the later part of the first round, early part of the second would be my bet. That's just how I'm looking at it because that's where Puka was going, which was just insane to me. With that said, though, we're on to the next squad here with Pow88. Jalen Hurts, Achane, Janty, Egbuka, T-Mac, Bretton Strange, Jacoby Myers. All right, and the bench is fun. I like it. I think you could realistically get more quality receiving production, but ultimately, like, I think it's fine. I would just be trying to tier up. I think Emeka has ran really pure for the past 2 weeks. I do expect that to be like a player. Like how I'm treating Emeka is like somebody you don't trade away in Dynasty, but I think he's somebody that you're willing to use to flip and redraft. And that's because of how the season is likely going to play out for him. With Chris Godwin coming back and the amount of money they're paying both Chris Godwin and Mike. They are going to be used. I would be very surprised if they're not. Even though Emeka Egbuka is somebody who has just been phenomenal so far. I mean, quite literally running so pure. But with that said, that's somebody I would consider flipping just because, like, I think you can pull it off. Like we talked about earlier with Devon Achane being somebody to potentially flip off of with the potential firing of Mike McDaniels and how concerning that could lead towards his receiving usage. Aside from that, though, I think it's a very strong squad. We talked about my love for Juwan Johnson. I think Bretton Strange is fine. But yeah,
you also have plenty of options on your bench and stuff to where you can afford to trade some guys. Like you're not going to have that big of a drop off. Perfect. I honestly think like Pearsall and Egbuka's obviously scored the touchdowns, but outside of a couple of those targets, which are somewhat lucky, I think Pearsall has looked basically the same. So I think you can afford to potentially move off of that. Maybe even throw him and someone else in your roster to create a 2-for-1 where you have more of a secure starter because your bench is so strong. Like you can move off Bill and Egbuka for like someone that you're automatically starting in your lineup every week.
I like it. All right, on to the next one here. Juju, 10-man PPR. You feel every position except running back is strong, but not sure if you should make a move for one or wait and see what happens with JCM and K9 if it separates. All right. Lamar Jackson, Tony Pollard, Kenneth Walker, CeeDee Lamb, Drake London, Tucker Kraft, T-Mac. This team is perfect. It's not perfect, obviously, but it's a very strong team. In theory, like the only thing I would advise is like you have Quentin Johnson. Hell, you have Michael Pittman. These are the guys that I would consider be selling high on. Because Josh Downs is like Michael Pittman is that guy, don't get me wrong, but like from a pure metric standpoint, like Josh Downs is better. In which case it's like that's a bet I want to be taking for the kind of upside you can realistically get. In which case it's just like, oh, Egbuka's the second flex on this team. Yeah, very strong. He's somebody I would also be looking to potentially flip just because it's like the pure amount of targets he's going to get this season isn't just that high. Like it's just not that high. But he's been running pure. I love him. I think he's great. I think you can realistically like tier up your running backs. That would be the only thing I'd be looking for. In which case, like going and seeing the guys who have like Janty specifically, like that is the manager I would be poking with the assets that you have here that are like in a premium spot because I think they'll potentially bite. Hell, same with Omarion Hampton. Like we're at the early part of the season here. I would be trying to poke those managers who drafted running backs high and just haven't seen that rookie production. In which case, you're taking a discounted bet on what they were paying for. So I like that a lot. But yeah, on to the next one. What should you do with BTJ and Hampton? Drop Ingram for Kraft. Any improvements? 9-man league starts it. Yes, I would be dropping Ingram for Kraft 1,000% for
Agreed.
one. But two,
unfortunately, I think you're in a spot where you kind of have to wait it out a bit. I don't think you're going to get anywhere near fair value for both of those guys, and I'm not giving up on either of them yet. So I would just rock with it for a couple weeks and see how their stock goes. You're definitely deep enough in the bench area where you can afford to make some 2-for-1s once those guys start to find their level a bit. I would be trying to trade like one of them and Kenneth Walker or something for a bit of a tier up there. You have just too many effective players on your bench there that some sort of trade should be done, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's a sick team. It's kind of hard to say anything else about it. All right, on to the next one.
I got to hop off here, guys.
All right. We'll see you later, Jackson.
All
so
right.
if you are trying to get another team in, you got to DM Jamario Moon on Discord to get your team reviewed, and they will be in the next stream. So once we get to this last one here at 26, we will be done. So we got 3 more teams, and then we will be out of here. So appreciate you hopping on, Jackson. We'll talk to you later, Sidor. Peace.
For sure. Catch you guys.
All right. Bo Nix, Chase Brown, Amarian Hampton, Drake London, T-Mac, Warren, and Charbonnet. So we need a more consistent flex spot because the guys that we have – Judkins is fine. Golden is going to emerge. I think this is a very, very strong team. I really like what you have here.
I would probably just echo the same sentiment we gave the last guy with Amarion too. Like any trade you make, unless there's a guy that's willing to offer you a Breece Hall or someone like that, then I would probably hop on that. But I think there's not really anything to be done as of now. I would just hold your pieces for a bit and hopefully Amarion finds a role where he can truly succeed, which I think really will happen. You could potentially start Judkins for a bit. I mean, this week's matchup is not ideal whatsoever, so maybe you want to hold off on that for now, but you have that as an option going forward, and maybe once Amarian Hampton figures it out and finds his like solidified role in the offense, then you can make a trade, but I wouldn't panic sell now. You're not going to get anything too valuable.
Yeah. So I would drop Michael Wilson. You don't need him. You don't need Justice Hill. You don't need Pop Douglas anymore. Golden is going to be the guy you're starting on flex. He's going to get more usage and more snap share now that Jaden Reed is out of the picture. Judkins, as much as I like him, he's a very fun name value because of the talent that he does present. I think he's somebody you can utilize as leverage in a trade if you want and kind of feel out the field if you want to upgrade your potential flex spot here. Yeah, but realistically,
I thought he looked great this week, especially off of just like 3 days total of practice all summer. Like, with that in mind, I thought he looked fantastic. So I'm pretty bullish.
Oh yeah, he's exciting, but like I'm just concerned more so about like the true total points that they're going to get there. But I think
I agree. I'm with you.
So the flex in theory is where you could upgrade, but I'm gonna be honest. Once we're like 2 more weeks in here, I think this is just going to be a roster that you're kind of setting and forgetting. Like you're not really adjusting. But the thing that will suck is when you do get bye weeks and then you're trying to go to your bench here and figure out other players to add on, Ben.
Exactly.
So Alec is somebody that's very exciting, though. Like he is a player we're very interested in. Troy Franklin as well. If you want to get really deep in the weeds and kind of get ahead of your league mates for another player, I would go pick up Torrey Horton. He scored a touchdown this weekend. Cup is very clearly washed, even though he had a good fantasy week. Torrey Horton is coming, and he's going to be a thing this year. So
I would assume Alec is probably gone by now based on your 14-man league, but yeah. So Troy Franklin's a good shout.
All right. With that said, we move to the next one. Mark O. De Legend 2. And also, Ben, if you have any more questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We'll happily go back to him here as we're approaching the end here.
Yeah.
Drake May, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bucky Irving, Cortland Sutton, Jalen Waddle, Trey McBride, Juwan Jennings. I mean, we got a super team here. Alec Imanor, Kayshawn Booty, Josh Downs, RJ Harvey, Sam Laporta, and Rashad White, and potentially an open bench spot as well. Yes, because you now have Burrow on Ross IR.
I think do we look at this team? There's a team that looks very similar to this. I think Juwan, Waddle, and Sutton.
I think there's probably people who built pretty similar teams if they're throwing them in here, because I think a few people used my cheat sheet that had a few of these names highlighted.
Yeah. I would move off of Laporta unless you're in a tight end premium league where you can start him at the flex. There's no reason to have both him and McBride. I would look to move off of one of those guys and tier up at wide receiver. You could even sell high on Ellick and trade him and Laporta to someone who needs a tight end and try to tier up for a more consistent flex option, because Laporta is just too good to have sitting there.
Yeah, I like this team. It's super sick. I would be very surprised if this team is 0-2.
Yeah, that feels like
very,
your main
very strong.
bargaining chip. So I would rock with that.
Yeah. All right. So should you start Golden Flex next week? Yes, 100%, Ben. And I would also wager to see like if anyone is interested in buying Zach Charbonnet because they want to play the opposite side of the coin. Because like it just seems like it could be going back and forth because people will have interest in Zach Charbonnet as well. All right. Crooked Glasses. Fun name. 16-team PPR Guillotine League. Down to 14 teams. No trade. Just want to see if you should drop or focus improving a specific roster spot. I like this. Okay, let's get into this, Grant. So we got Patrick Mahomes, Chase Brown, Jalen Warren, Keon Coleman, Lamb McConkey, Matthew Golden, Harold Finn, and Bryce Young. Okay, so it's super flex. That's really fun. Romeo Doubs, Quinshon Judkins, Brock Purdy, Xavier Worthy, and George Kittle. Oof, not ideal.
I'm curious to see what the waiver wire is looking like after the last week of guillotines.
Yeah, me too. I'm curious to see what's getting
because
added.
there's got to be some spots you could attack here. Assuming you have a decent spot in the waiver wire, I'd be looking at a running back first. That feels like your biggest hole. Your receivers, all young guys with high ceilings here, but probably haven't hit those yet outside of Keon in week 1.
I think you need a receiver off waivers.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Like,
yeah, that's fair.
Like Keon, he's sick, but those game scripts are just not going to be consistent enough.
You also have Judkins in the wing as a running back option as well. So I think you're probably right.
Well, Jalen Warren's job's safe now. Caleb Johnson just lost his job this week. It looked like.
Agreed. So, yeah, I would take Wells' advice and target whatever wide receiver is on due to the guillotine, and then go from there.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks are fine. Super flex, you're chilling. When Brock's back, like you have enough depth. Bryce Young will be fine for a couple weeks. Kittle's obviously great. No notes outside of probably just finding a way to attack that receiver slot on the waivers based on whoever lost last week. 16-team PPR too. Like obviously you're in a super deep league. This team is very solid with that in mind.
Yeah, I like it. But yes, Ben, I would 100% trade away Charbonnet for Harvey. I want the Harvey side of that deal 10 times out of 10. I love that for you. But yeah, no, what great emphasize right there, 100%. We just want to be improving the receiving room a little bit here and taking another step forward. I think Chase Brown and Jalen Ward will bring you enough of a consistency, at least for the short future, and then we can work on improving that a little bit further. So hopefully we can make those glasses a little bit more straight for you so you can see a little bit clearer. But if that's not the case, we'll see how it goes. This is your wife. Well, Josh Allen, best running back. James Conner, wide receiver is weak. Okay. Is this 3 flex, Noah, or is this 2 flex? That's, I guess, my bigger question here, because it's like, if we're 3 receiver, then, but if it's like Downs and Naylor's best, I don't mind going after Downs. He's very quiet value. I like Downs a lot for what it's worth. I think you can get him for sneaky value. Josh Allen, I think, would technically be the priority.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the number 1 claim, Josh Allen is the guy you pick up immediately.
Yeah, like,
but outside of that, I mean, would you rather have Downs than Connor? Probably not.
Probably not. Like, if it's a flex spot, I want Connor. But if it's a wide receiver spot, I think I want Downs. Just because, like, I do think there's
that's totally fair.
But like that would be my kind of clarification there, Noah. Should you trade away Hampton or keep him?
Ben, let's see what kind of offers you get. If you get a guy that's in like a fair tier for Hampton, we're talking like I don't know, Brees or I don't know, someone like that, or you're giving up a 2-for-1 where you're getting a running back like that, I would probably be okay taking that offer. But if people were kind of downplaying Hampton's value based off of the first couple weeks, I would hold. Okay. 2 wide receiver, flex is wide receiver, tight end.
Okay.
Oh, is it tight end premium?
So it's basically 3 wide receiver. Yeah. I mean, Downs is somebody that I think is fine to target. I would prioritize Josh Allen because his floor is just like so much higher than Bryce Young's. And if Mahomes can reach a ceiling as well, that's going to serve you a lot of upside too.
If it's tight end premium, you could even be having Fannin as a flex with Kittle once he's back.
Yeah.
So there's some options, but yeah, I would listen to Wells.
Yeah. I like what you got here.
Oh, fat budget for free agency. I mean, I assume everybody's going to like come close to emptying the clip on Josh Allen. I guess I
wouldn't
don't
go
really know
too
how
expensive.
Fab works in a guillotine
Yeah.
setting. Like, there's obviously going to be great players every week. I would just probably your quarterbacks are strong enough. I would just throw a light claim, like a couple Fab on Josh Downs, if anything, and just if you get him, you get him, and then try to move on to next week and attack the Fab when there's more receivers available. That would be my advice.
Like, I've never played in like a super deep guillotine league, but like, I feel like this is how I'd play. I would consider paying 30% of my budget for whoever the player was that was in the first round, right? Like a Josh Allen type player. I think that would be enough in a super flex type format because he's probably going into the 101, right? I think I'd be willing to pay that kind of premium as at least 30%. I'm sure there's probably someone smarter than us that probably knows a bit more for that. But that would be my assumption, would be about 30% there.
I think if I needed a quarterback, I'd be comfortable spending like 50 plus on him, but 50 plus %. But
I don't
think
want to do that.
Your team, like your quarterbacks are probably your strong suit. Like if you have Mahomes and Purdy, obviously you don't have one of those top like 3 guys, but you have guys that are super fine, especially in a 16 team league. Like your quarterbacks are strong enough. I think you're going to get outbid for quarterback based on being in a 16 team league. The guy who lost Burrow, I don't know if he's still in the league, but that person's probably going to spend a ton on Josh Allen. So I would just kind of pick your spots, wait for next week until there's like an elite wide receiver that's on there, and probably just throw a couple dollars at Josh Downs for this week, and then advance.
I think if I were to give a mental estimate, I'd do like 30% on Josh Allen, just because that's a player in a super flex. That's basically the 101.
I throw $1, $2 at Josh Downs max. Yeah, maybe $1, and I would just probably punt on Josh Allen. Yeah,
whatever 2 to 5% is for Josh Allen is the range I would be looking at as well. Well, that said, that was Grant and I. We had Jackson for a bit here, which was very awesome, and happy he was able to help us. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hopefully you found this helpful, and hopefully we'll see you in another piece of content or in the next Team Review Tuesday. So until next time, best of luck to all, and peace now.
Peace, y'all. Good luck, everyone.
If I can press the button. Can I press the button? Maybe.